Hey humans, how's it going? Susan Ruth here. Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 173. I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and my friend Steve Armistead helped me connect with the one and only Bebe Buell. Bebe is a fashion model, best-selling author, Playboy Playmate of the Month, songwriter, artist, mom to Liv Tyler, and of course, in general, the woman is a cult icon. She has seen and done a lot of really fun, fascinating, wild, and woolly things. We talk about her life and her thoughts on politics and raising a kid and being in the limelight and navigating social media and what people will say about you. She talks about David Bowie. That was really fascinating. Super cool interview. I liked, she knows her own mind. I appreciate that in a human being. Feisty. I would say that she is feisty. I really enjoyed it. Usual stuff, social media, Hey Human Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And of course, my personal social media is at Susan Ruthism, SUSAN, RUTHISM. HeyHumanPodcast.com is the main website for this show. And on there, of course, you'll find the links page that I curate every week. It's got books and articles and music and all sorts of things. Lots of links to Bebe's stuff. So check that out for sure. Please rate and review Hey Human on iTunes. And of course, on the Hey Human main page, you will find the Amazon portal. If you shop Amazon, which I guess at this point most of the world does, do so through that portal, and it helps support Hey Human and keep the show ad-free. You can also donate to Hey Human on the front page there. There's a little donate button. So use that at your leisure and pleasure, and many thanks for that. I think that's about it. Oh, you can reach me at susan@heyhumanpodcast.com. And other than that, I'm really excited for It, Chapter 2, coming out this week. Cannot wait for that. And welcome to September. Fall, not quite in the air, at least not around here, but it's coming. It's coming soon. All you kids that got back into school, hope you guys do great. Keep an eye out on your fellow students, and if you see somebody that just, maybe is a little lonely, maybe eating lunch by themselves, maybe wearing clothes that aren't cool or whatever it is, take a minute. Just be a friend. Go say hey and, make somebody's day. It's a big world out there. It can be very scary. Some kids are coming to new school for the first time. I know that I changed schools my senior year. That's a long, complicated story. But anyway, I was so scared the first couple weeks I ate my lunch in the library because, new school and all the kids seemed to know each other. And then one day I just, got up and went down and started talking to people. But it's really hard to do that. It's hard to not feel like a big old idiot when you're new. So anxiety is real. Be a friend and help each other out. Okay, that goes for sure too, I guess, at workplaces. Sometimes it feels really awkward to start a new job. So, it's just nice to reach out and be like, hey, I've been there. I know what that feels like. Here's my hand and here's my heart, and let's do this together. So anyway, hope you have a wonderful beginning of the fall, and keep on keeping on. And here we go. Let's do this. Bebe, welcome to Hey Human.
And hi. Welcome to Nashville.
Thanks. I lived here for 13 years
before
I moved to Los Angeles.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And everybody from Los Angeles is moving here and then swapping back.
I think there's some sort of unwritten rule that you have to do that. In order for you to go one place, somebody from there has to come to wherever you are.
Well, 100 plus people a day are moving here.
Yeah, it's insane.
From Chicago too. Chicago, New York, and LA is where we're getting all our transplants. And a lot of Austiners are trying it to see if they prefer which one they like better.
Sure.
Very
How long have you lived here?
Since 2012.
Did you move from California?
No, I'd never lived in California.
Oh, okay.
I've only visited. I've spent bouts of time there.
You seem like a California girl.
No. I'm an East Coast girl, but I did grow up on the beach. That could be the California you're seeing. I grew up on Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
I was born in Virginia.
Yeah.
And summered in North Carolina at my grandparents' farm.
Also beautiful. North Carolina is stunning.
So I'm a Southern girl, even though I got to New York right out of high school.
Yeah, because you don't have the Southern drawl thing going on.
No, I have a hybrid. I have sort of a mixture. I have I'm a Nash Yorker. So I have a little. I never did have a real strong accent, though, because my mother was a protocol Danyan, and
did she found the protocol?
Yeah, she did. It just was very interesting to get all those little perks, so young. I mean, I knew everything about a place setting and a fish fork and a dessert fork and a butter knife. I mean, I understood everything. I knew how to set a table for royalty by the time I was 12, and it was. It was good.
It's a lost art.
I mean, at the time, I sort of rebelled against it. But when I went to my first dinner party in the early 70s with Brian Ferry or Mick Jagger, I was really, really happy that I had all those skills because they all, being British, did. And they had never really met that many Americans that they thought had any couth. And it was really difficult. Rock stars were very different in the early 70s, especially the British ones. They were very picky about what girls they dated and who they hung out with. It was not the same as it is now. I think the change came maybe 80s into, I don't know, it got very strange. But it got me into a lot of wonderful things. These things that my mother taught me. It was useful to me, the tools. And of course, it's been passed on to my daughter. And I just think good manners are nice. What's wrong with having them?
No, I think it's a lost art. Absolutely. I've dated a few guys whose kids, I think, no. Let's sit at the table nicely. You don't use your knife to pick up your food.
I'm just really glad that Liv missed the computer thing. By the time she was in maybe the 10th grade, we had to get her first little desktop computer to do schoolwork on. But we didn't have cell phones, and it was a big deal when she got her own answering machine and her own phone line in her room.
Yeah.
I just am so glad that I didn't have to bring up a child with all this. Oh my God.
There's a lot of information being pounded at kids.
It's overkill. It's
for sure.
And I want people to use their imaginations, and my daughter is such a good parent because she limits all that. And she kept it limited with Milo, my oldest grandson. And so it...
well, I feel like kids who learn that stuff, they tend to pass it on too.
Well, they're all getting bad necks and bad posture and everything too. They're going to...
From staring at the phone?
Well, like in 50 years, people are going to look like hunchbacks. It's going to be weird. We're morphing into something I don't like.
Yeah. I understand.
I'm not a Debbie Downer. I'm a positive person.
No, I get it.
And I go through life, and I love my art, and I appreciate a beautiful day. But I'm really concerned that we have to get things on track.
You've seen a lot in your time. I mean, and the thing is in your age group at least, there's an exponential change. It's not like little tiny micro changes.
I got to swim when the water was clean, and basically, it started in the 40s and the 50s with the Industrial Revolution and everything, and in the 50s and the 60s when they started introducing processed food,
plastics,
all that stuff.
Sure.
And I remember it was such a big deal for my mother to let me eat a TV dinner. It would be like on a Friday, to watch Chiller Theater or something. But, I wasn't allowed to eat that garbage. My mother believed in eating real food, as did my grandparents. But I'm grateful for that. She got me on vitamins when I was a teenager.
So did you have a pretty picturesque childhood?
No. It was... it was wrought with identity crisis because I didn't have a dad. My parents were divorced when I was 2, and
which was unusual back then.
And the last time my father was military, and the last time I saw my daddy was when I was like 5 at my 5th birthday, and then I didn't see him again until I was 8 months pregnant with Liv.
Wow.
I went my whole life without even knowing him. So, no, I mean, I think I had a lot of idyllic moments. I think I was just really, really karmically lucky. I got to be part of history, and I got to see so many things, and I'd be part of moments that I'll never... I mean, I got to be alive when David Bowie was alive, and Prince, and the Beatles, and the Rolling Stones, and I can't think of a better time to be alive. I mean, I think about it, maybe 1780 and English aristocratic.
You had to be wealthy to be around in those days, I think. If you weren't wealthy, it probably wasn't much.
Well, I've been watching Harlots that my daughter's in on Hulu, and oh my God, that was such a time in history. The opulence of it for those that were part of the royal.
Yeah, if you had money, good time. God. If you didn't, it was
insanity.
Not so much fun. Yeah.
Maybe,
it was all very...
But the harlots, they infiltrated with royalty because they were so well-groomed, and, the harlots had to take especially good care of themselves, and they were courtesans. They had to be a little bit special. They couldn't just be the odd hooker on the street. Excuse me to any hookers, because I'm pro
Sex
all
workers.
that.
Yeah,
I know I'm pro people doing whatever they want with their bodies.
Me too.
Not that I would do it, but that I don't see any problem with it. But I love Harlots. If you haven't watched it,
I haven't seen it. Well, I don't have Hulu.
It's only 3. It's so easy to get. You get your Fire Stick, Amazon Fire Stick. Boom, your Hulu.
And that's Liv that's on that.
Yeah, she started. She wasn't in season 1, but 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
She brought a lot of.
She's a great actress.
She brought a lot of life to the series. I mean, I love it. It's brilliant. But she's doing British accents a lot in her.
Oh, that's fun.
Recent roles and that.
Is it surreal as a mom to see a child? Is it surreal as a mother to see a child doing?
I think it's only surreal to those who haven't experienced it. I think when you do it, it just seems totally organic and natural. It seems like it should. It's biological science.
Yeah. So let's go back to you. You are a kid growing up in Virginia, and you left home around 17. I read that.
Well,
somewhere.
no, 18. After high school.
All right.
I turned 18 the summer after graduation.
Oh, that's traditional time.
And so I was 18 by the time I went to New York.
Mm-hmm. Why New York? Were you just ready to get the heck out?
Because I had no interest in college at the time, sadly, which I look back on some of the whims of those days, and you really, the song "Live for Today." I mean, that's kind of how we were. We didn't plan. Didn't save, didn't do any of the sensible things. A lot of us, anyway. I was born in '53, so I'd say most of my friends within that 5-year range, they either went into the arts and did very well, or they became entrepreneurs. And a lot of my friends have become very successful, and they're still my friends from when we were young. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. But New York, and my mother, just on a whim, sent a couple of pictures of me to super agent Eileen Ford. And we heard from her within 3 days. I mean, it was that quick.
Wow.
Within 3 days of what we assumed, probably a week of what we assumed. I guess she opened the letter, saw the pictures, and contacted my mother, and she said, "I'd like you to be on the next available plane." I mean, it was that quick. She paid for our flights and put us up in the Mayflower Hotel, and I just remember going to her agency on East 59th Street. She measured me, she weighed me, and she stared at me, and I had a contract. It was wild. It happened. She took me around, introduced me to everybody, and then for the first week I lived in her house. And then they put me in a woman's residence called St. Mary's on East 72nd Street. It was run by nuns. And it just started from there.
Do you remember your first job?
Oh, yeah, Brides Magazine. A lot of that kind of bread and butter work when you were first starting. They like to see you, help you learn the ropes a little. And I mean, some of the girls would get thrust right into Vogue or Harper's, but I didn't do Vogue or Harper's until 75, 76. The first 3 years, I was more. I did a lot of Butterick and catalog stuff and bread and butter. I made really good money. I was a money maker. I started off at $50 an hour, and then I was top rate girl. I was $75 an hour, and then when I had made $100 an hour, I knew that I was, I was considered a really good model. And so when I would do Avon, I would do, a Spiegel, just that kind of stuff.
Was it a big culture shock going from where you had been to now you're in New York and you're a working model?
No, I think that I must have had a connection in my DNA or something, because nothing seemed out of whack to me. I started to feel more and more like I was where I belonged. I was looking for my tribe, my people. I was trying to, and when I found them, I knew it.
Did you make a lot of friends that first year or so?
Well, no, I don't think I was really looking for friends. I was looking more for a tribe. People. Yeah, people that like music and art and fashion and literature and poems and Oscar Wilde. Those were the people I wanted to find. A lot of the girls at the women's residence were very ambitious, and they really didn't care about anything but the next audition, and they were very different from me. And I quickly met people that introduced me to this person and that person, and then before I knew it, I was hanging out with a very late night downtown crowd,
sure,
rock and roll crowd, and I got kicked out of St. Mary's because I broke curfew too many times. So by then I had met Todd Rundgren, and he said, well, why don't you just come and live with me? So that's how it happened. Yeah, it went, but it's strange.
But it was natural. It wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, you fall in love with who you're going to fall in love with. You never know who that's going to be.
Were you always attracted to the musician type of guy?
I'm not sure, because I never really dated that much. Todd was my first boyfriend of that ilk.
Your first love?
Yeah. I mean, I sort of had this boyfriend when I was a senior named Harvey that was in a band, and he went on to be kind of very famous. He was in the Outlaws, he played bass in the Outlaws, and my first boyfriend, my first kiss was when I met him. He was into basketball and football, but he was part of the Cowsill family, Paul Cowsill. And they were singing Family. The Partridge Family was based on them, and their mother was in the band, and their little sister, Susan. And they're some of my lifelong friends. I'm still friends with them today. But Paul Cowsill was my first kiss, my first, real crush. And he moved away to be a rock star. So, yeah, I guess I really didn't know any other kind of guy, really. And I think you just go, you birds of a feather. You go where your ilk, your soul finds other like-minded souls, I believe. But I'm a military kid, so we moved a lot. And when you see your stepfather and your father both in their dashing uniforms, and you already have an issue with who your dad is, I think it's not that weird that I would go for a
pageantry
or flamboyance or a big. My dad had a very big personality, and he was 6'1", and he was he laughed a lot. He was a genius. He was he was Mensa IQ. He was a doctor. He went on to get his degree in psychology after his term in the military. He left the military at 33. So, I mean, I come from an incredibly complex, interesting family. So I don't think it's really unusual that my DNA memory would include stuff of that type.
Were you able to have the conversation with your dad about why he left and all that?
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, none of that stuff really matters in the end.
Right.
Everybody dies.
Everybody does die.
And so,
hopefully not today.
But so the point is, you have to learn. The secret is to fix it yourself, because everybody's got something. Everybody. You're not going to meet somebody that's void of stuff.
Sure.
Ever.
Oh no, we all come with our luggage. For sure.
And make sure it's Louis Vuitton. keep it nice. But it's as you get older, you stop internalizing everybody else's. But if you have an empathic essence, like I'm sort of a natural empath. I feel everything. I feel, I have to learn when to censor it. I don't like that word boundaries, because everybody uses it. It's become like the it word. The metaphysical it word is boundaries. And I'm like, I just think you have to know when to shut yourself off and open the gate again.
For sure. What were some of the things you learned there as a budding into love, especially with gregarious men, just for yourself and your own preservation about love? What do you think was? Well,
I was shattered. I didn't know faithful men or men that were into the sanctity of the traditional union. I mean, although I had some close friends in our profession that were soulmates and that were married, but it was never the guys I dated. It was always their drummer or their bass player, or something that had that idyllic, old-fashioned viewpoint on life. I always went for, I don't know what attracts us to, it's a reflection of yourself, I guess. I guess, when I was very young, I saw myself the same way, maybe. It's all a big mystery. You start wondering, is it past life? Is it genetic DNA memory? A lot of people think that sometimes past life memory is just DNA memory.
I believe that.
That's part of it. But then you get this kid, this 5-year-old kid that remembers the war and draws the airplanes.
Oh, I read about that kid.
And knows where his mother is and finds her.
Yeah.
As a 5-year-old, his 100-year-old mother. I just sort of believe in all of it.
Yeah.
I think it's all happened, and I believe in the whole multidimensional aspect of everything. So I think...
And why not? I mean, I don't know. Why limit yourself to one life? I mean, heck yeah, bring it all on. Let's see what else we can learn.
But also, I think, and I think our souls know a lot of people that we cross with, and I think we know who those people are, and we find each other again. Sometimes we make the same mistakes with the same people over and over, and you just have to keep on working on it, if that's what you choose to do. Sometimes I think a soul feels like, okay, I've addressed this issue enough. That's obviously not going to work. So your soul goes again, to another place, maybe. I'm not sure. I just don't believe that
I'd like to think we get better and smarter in our choices.
I think so. I think some souls are not very evolved at all. And it takes a long time for them to even get, a little inch in the road. But as my grandmother used to say, it takes all kinds.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting that you've dated some very famous, very, again, charismatic men, but you eschew the term groupie, although that's what they used to call women who dated rock stars. But to me, a groupie is not... It's like I don't know what
it is. It's a word that it's a derogatory, sadly,
that's what I feel
term that they call women. They don't call guys that.
Right, exactly.
So I'm trying to figure out, what is a guy that goes after or hooks up with Cher? He's a bagel boy. People are jealous.
I think that's the bottom line.
And they have to create a term, a derogatory term that sets you apart from them, that you must have done something unholy to get the attention of that human.
Also, I think there's a lot of hang-ups around sexuality and owning one's own sexuality.
Yeah, I'm the most hung up in the world about sex. Sadly, because of of the way I was raised and because of some traumatic issues that I had, you know, I've never been considered the best shag. I mean, I doubt you'll see that on my tombstone, and I can guarantee you that if you were to interview or talk to any man that's ever made love to me, he's not going to go, that Bebe, she was something in the sack, you know. No, that's not what I'll be remembered for ever. And
what do you bring?
Good brain. I give good brain.
Yeah.
So I just don't know. I have a gift from God, I guess, or something that's just who I am, where I like to connect with other creative people. And what comes from that is whatever it is. Whatever the soup is, whatever the casserole is, the outcome is usually good.
Are you finding that here in Nashville?
I find it everywhere I go. I only go where I'm led.
Yeah, okay.
You know, people say, why are you moving to Nashville? I don't have any clue. I'm just listening to my inner voice, and the vortex drew me in. I don't know what it is. It was, you know, some people are afraid to take risk. And it's very scary when you're very entrenched. I had a beautiful house in Rutherford, New Jersey, which is 6 miles outside of New York City, with panoramic views of Manhattan, in a beautiful stone townhouse in my husband's town that he grew up in. My husband's a Jersey boy. We just celebrated our seventh. Oh, of course. Yeah. A musician can't really live without a like-minded soul, because we're not normal.
I cut you off. You said you just celebrated your
17th wedding anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary.
We've been together 20 years. But he has a job as well. You know, I mean, we do alternative things. You know, I do a lot of writing and public speaking. And
you have a best-selling book.
I have one. It's my autobiography. I haven't written another book yet. My book is now, I'd say, 18 years old. So going on.
You've lived a lot of life since then. It's time to write a second book.
I think the second one will be a lot more interesting, frankly, because I think there's a lot of people my age now. People are living longer, and I think a lot of people that were born in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, we are some of us are stronger because we missed all the horrible stuff that they're doing to everything now. The things they put in food, oh my God. People ask why I'm a vegetarian. Would you eat an animal the way they treat them and kill them in this country? I mean, I just could not even imagine. I don't even know how anybody can think that's juicy and awesome to eat a pig or a cow. I just don't get it.
Is your whole family vegetarian?
No. God, no.
Just you. Your husband's not.
Yes.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Of course. And so is my daughter to some on and off extent. You know, she craves things sometimes, but I think eventually, with her best friend being Stella McCartney and stuff, I think eventually she will go completely away. You know, for a while I would eat a chicken if I knew where the chicken lived and how it died and
his name. Yeah, sure.
And it didn't have, you know, horrible hormones and steroids put in it.
I think it's getting easier, and it certainly depends on where you live, but the easier it becomes to eat like that, the better off it'll be.
I can't eat fish anymore either because of what we're doing to the ocean. I just can't. I look at a fish and I think of Linda McCartney and how she would say that the fish, you take it out of water and it hurts. They can't breathe. They
can't breathe in the water. It's terrible.
The whole thing just, I don't want to eat plastic. I don't want to, I'm getting to the point now where, I don't know, I get very upset. Even when I see a commercial on TV that shows a piece of rare meat or something, I feel like I'm going to throw up. I've gotten to a place where I just can't connect with hurting anything. I can't connect with suffering an animal being abused and for my food and the burning of the rainforest to make room for more cows when less people are eating meat on the planet. So this dictator that they've got, it's a whole
in Brazil. Yeah.
It's just, you know, but we're rampant with these kind of leaders right now, and they've got to go.
Yeah, it's a thing with people that are in that kind of power. The power begins to corrupt them, I think. It seems inevitable, and it's been like that for a very long time.
I just think they don't have empathy. They're missing that chip.
No, empathy doesn't make money.
Yeah, well, sometimes it does.
Yeah.
You just have to know Beyond Burger's doing pretty darn good. So is the Impossible Burger.
Which is the one with the pea protein. I actually really enjoyed
Impossible.
That was very good.
The Impossible you can get now at Burger King, for Christ's sake.
I'm celiac, so I can't eat wheat, gluten, rye, barley, or wheat. And so that's the next level of complication when trying to live a meat-free lifestyle, because so much has a binder of wheat, gluten.
Well, you don't want to eat those poor animals anyway, not the way they're killed and treated in this country. We kill in one day in America as many cows as they kill in France in 2 years. There's that causes an imbalance karmically in your body, your system, your cells, all that's connected.
Sure. But for farmers who that's their livelihood, I don't know that they know what an option would be.
Farmers have options to be kind to the animals.
Oh, and how they slaughter, for sure.
And how they sell.
Yeah, I think more farmers are looking into
and what they do to their product.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of kind farmers in Tennessee.
And it is a responsibility as a person who eats food to know where your food is coming from. And like how it's handled.
If you eat eggs from a happy chicken that's like, burr, 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 look at my eggs, look at my beautiful blue and green eggs. I don't see anything. I personally have chosen not to, but I don't see anything wrong if somebody wants to have a fresh farm egg.
Sure.
Once in a while, or beautiful cheese from a happy cow that's worshipped and treated kindly,
right.
Or yogurt or any of that kind of stuff.
I see what you're saying.
I don't see.
And I do think that there are farms that are ethical with the way they do things. And there are many that aren't, unfortunately. And so as consumers,
it's horrible.
We have to be aware of which ones do which if you choose to eat that kind of food. Because I do believe that when an animal is slaughtered in fear with a great deal of pain, that then of course courses through its blood, and then you're eating that.
Yeah, that's cancer. It's carcinogenic. It's called fear adrenaline, and it's what's released into the human body too when you're killed. It's the same thing, and those poor animals, they're so innocent. They are so trusting and they're so innocent.
Yeah,
and
the dog festivals, what they do to those dogs is so disturbing, beyond disturbing. And they think that it seasons the meat.
Well, you know what? That is ignorant.
It's a cultural thing too.
And but in 50 years, hopefully people like that won't exist anymore. I'm hoping that a new consciousness is going to move in, and people like that are gone. I'm sorry, I just don't have any place for them in my life or my thoughts, except for pity.
Do you grow vegetables and stuff on your?
No, I mean I don't live the kind of lifestyle that I could tend to any vegetables, but. Yeah. I do go to farmers markets. I have lots of friends that have tons of shit. Excuse my French. I didn't know.
No, you can swear.
And
people often do on here.
I get gifted a lot of stuff too. Sometimes so much that I don't even know what to do with it all. So I sometimes have to gift my neighbor who likes to make pickles with my 5,000 cucumbers that are gifted to me. But
oh God, I love a good pickle.
Yeah, I do too. And I would love to have the lifestyle where I have time to, I had a garden with Todd one time in the early 70s. That lasted for 2 seasons, 2 years we did it, but it's a lot of work and you have to have the time on your hands to do it. My neighbors behind us, they have bees, so we have 2 big beehives, so I get fresh honey.
That's nice.
It is nice.
Yeah, that's lovely. When did you get into music as a performer yourself? Was that something that you had always done?
Well, I think, it starts, with me it started in choir. It started, because I was the only alto in my entire all-girl boarding school, all ages. I was like, a contralto, not just an alto.
Yeah, you got a low voice.
There's a sopranos, and but I have a high voice when I speak. And when I was young, I had a higher voice when I sang. It all has to do with life and age, changes your voice. But at the time, I was what was called a contralto, which when you're 11 years old, you get to only sing certain things. And usually they would save me for solos and things like that. And so it started off with that. And then the class mass, I went to boarding school for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and we'd have folk mask. And Debbie Drinkwater and Annette Zumba would play acoustic guitar, and I asked the nuns if I could play tambourine because I wanted to play what I saw Mick Jagger play, the tambourine and the harmonica. I started playing that when I was pretty young, and so I was into maracas and percussion-y kind of instruments and tambourine and things like that. So I think it started in school. I knew that I had an unusual voice. I knew it wasn't going to be a common kind of voice. I think I always had fantasies of being a singer, but my mother pushed me to the modeling thing because she thought it would be good money for me and a good career, something that, whereas even then, whenever you would say you want to be in a band, people were like, oh, that's not a very good choice. You don't know if you're going to make it or not.
Yeah, things haven't changed, right?
I started with my music in public in front of people around 78, 79. And then I went into the studio with Rick Ocasek and his band, The Cars. And they took me in and recorded 2 songs with me. And then I worked with Rick Derringer on 2 more, and that became a record. So I guess I was about 26 when I got into my first band.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a little bit later in life for most people, right? They kind of jump into it, but you had a lot of the modeling stuff keeping you busy.
But I had a lot of experience being on stage from, being part of that world for so long. I had tons of experience. I had sung, in people's basements and living rooms and houses my whole life. That's how it all happened. Rick Ocasek heard me one night and he said, we're taking you in the studio.
The Cars are so good.
It just got to the point where I was singing so much, when we would be at parties or hanging out, and I would often get asked at parties, to sing for private parties. When I was just known as a model or somebody's girlfriend, I would often, she can sing and she's really weird. It's like Edith Piaf on acid. So, it's like sort of that kind of thing. So I would sometimes do like quirky performances. So I did performance art. I hung out at Max's, for Christ's sake. I mean, everybody was a performer in Max's. You learn very quickly, because there's always somebody with a movie camera, somebody with something. Even though back then we didn't take pictures of everything like we do now. I mean, with our phone now, it's like everything. But I always laugh because some of the most important people in my life, I have maybe 1 or 2 pictures of me with that person. I have no pictures of me with my grandparents. 0.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3 pictures of me with my dad. And so that has followed me in my life. Other times when people would be like, oh, I got to get a picture of this. That's back when you had to carry your stupid little camera. I always thought that I was way too cool to do that, and I would never do it. I thought it would be sort of wrong. And then now it's look at, I love Instagram. It's become my diary. So
are you on there?
On Instagram?
Yeah.
Of course
What's your Instagram?
It's real Bebe Buell.
Oh, well, that's easy. I'll put a link to that on the.
It's got a little blue check too, so people will know which is the real one, because there's a lot of imposters. Yeah.
Did you have an understanding as you were growing up of your beauty and the power of that? Well,
I think you sort of get it. I mean, you know that. Yeah, I mean, you're not clueless, but I don't think that when you're actually the person living in the skin, I don't think that's how you wake up. That's, maybe the movie Mean Girls, that's how they wake up, but you are insecure and don't feel beautiful just like everybody else. The only time I really felt my power with beauty was when I was in front of the camera, and I enjoyed the art of it. The creation between the photographer and the model or the person being used for the photo. I I enjoyed the creative part of it so much. Just the whole ritual, the makeup and the clothes and the planning and the lighting. And, people say, what was it like doing Playboy? Was it sexy? No, it was horribly hard. It was like you get into a pose and they would say, hold that. And you're contorted, literally. You're twisted around like a pretzel. And they're like, hold that. And so... yeah, you can't walk for 4 days when you're done shooting a Playboy layout.
What made you transition into that?
I don't know. It was just a rebellious thing I wanted to do. And my friend Patti Smith said to me, Bridget Bardot and Jane Barkin and Betty Page. I mean, she was listing off all the women that had done Marilyn Monroe was the first person to ever do Playboy. And I just thought those were the kind of women that I aspired to. I thought they were the free spirits, the rebels. So I associated the art of doing something like that. I did not know that I would get, fired from my modeling agency and have to go to Europe to, do fashion work again, where they don't care about nudity. Oh, we don't care that you've been in Playboy. I did Revlon, I did Wella, I did Enoxa, I had all kinds of contracts in Europe after Playboy. None in America. So
again, that puritanical.
It's very interesting how strange it is. But it was Wilhelmina, the modeling agent, that was sort of in competition with Eileen Ford. She had once been a Ford model, and she was a model, and then she left and started her own agency. And I'll never forget Willie. She was something. And I remember going into her office, and I said, well, Eileen, said I did Playboy. I can't be a Ford model anymore. And she laughed, and she said, we'll just send you off to Paris and London and Milano, and they'll forget about it. She said, it's not a big deal. We'll have that book. We'll get that. She was right. I went to London first, and I was working within 3 days.
Yeah.
For British Vogue, and Barry Ladigan, and Clive Aerosmith, and David Bailey. It was instant. It was insane. But it upset my mother because I had that look. I had that Cheryl Tiegs, Sybil Shepherd, all-American girl look that was so big. Mm-hmm. And during the time, measurements were. But I went rogue.
Yeah,
I went rogue. I went rock and roll, as they say. So they would all I got called all kinds of things: the rock and roll model, wild child. I got called everything but groupie. The groupie thing didn't come till later, when I feel that journalists got. They even called the one that they called me all the time was Friend to the Stars. That always made me laugh.
That's a great title for a TV show.
And
you could star in your own sitcom.
And I remember reading about Lily Langtry as a young girl, and still to this day adoring her and her friendship with Oscar Wilde. And they called her a professional beauty. And I thought, they did it to women even then, when they could not understand your beauty or your delivery of your beauty. They had to come up with some kind of crazy name for you. So definitely I had my own little category. I was probably the only rock and roll girl that had been a fashion model and done a Playboy centerfold and done all these things, and then tumbled out of the ball of yarn in front of a mic stand. It's your own story, your own journey.
How is that for you, having a daughter and knowing that you were such an empowered, you understood your body?
Well, I had a lot of help.
Yeah.
I was a single mother. If I hadn't been for my mother and my cousin Annie, I don't think I would have been able to do it. I had a lot of help. I didn't have nannies per se or that kind of thing, but I had a very powerful female warrior. Is a wolf pack, basically. And we buckled under and we did it. It wasn't until around 91, when her paternity became public, that I had to just stop everything and become 100% a mom. Mm-hmm. Her identity was incredibly sacred at that point. And I didn't want it to be put into the crazy blender.
Yeah.
So for 6 years, I was chained to a desk, and I did managerial work. I worked for Liv. I worked for Debbie Harry a little. I worked for another actress called Charlize what was her name? Sheris Michelson, that was her name, and Johnny Zander. I had a couple of clients, but it really wasn't the right kind of work for me. An artist, once you're an artist, you're always an artist. It's very difficult to wear the managerial hat when you have the sensitivity of an artist, because I find all the great managers, the ones I observed anyway, were cutthroats and could go really nasty very quickly. That's not who I am. So as soon as Liv left home, I was on my mentor's doorstep. Where can I get a band? Find me a band. I mean, I was just desperate to get to work. So it's been that way since '98.
Do you think if you hadn't gone into the modeling, you would have jumped right into the music?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I had met my Chris Stein or my Dave Stewart, like Debbie Harry or Annie Lennox, if I had met my mentor earlier, if I had met somebody that said, come on, we're going to start a band. I mean, because back then, if you think about it, that's how it happened for a lot of the great front people. Even Janis Joplin, it was Big Brother and the holding company that got her brilliance out to the public. I think that if I had had the opportunity, I think back then women were really only allowed to be one thing or be classified as one thing. And as soon as I started dating a rock star, any aspirations of me becoming one I probably would have been laughed at maybe, because I was known as a model. And so it's all very limiting. You have to just fight.
I feel like that's still the case, because when you read about models who want to get into music, or actors who want to get into music, or musicians who want to act, suddenly the press just goes crazy about it.
It just depends. Like, look at Bowie, brilliant actor, brilliant musician. Yeah. I'm not going to mention certain people's names, but then there's other people that try to act and they just can't act. Mm-hmm. And then there's other actors that are like Beverly D'Angelo, Sissy Spacek. These are all women that have beautiful voices. When I first met Kim Basinger, it was in the office of Bearsville Records, which was Todd's label through Warner Brothers. When I first met Kim Basinger, who's the same age as I am, we're born the same year, she had her guitar. She was in Paul Fishkin's office to be heard for an audition for a record deal. And I have never heard a better, she was so talented. I couldn't believe it. And then, because of her beauty, she got whisked off by Breck. Remember Breck? Mm-hmm. And she got a Breck thing, and the next thing she knew, she was this huge model. But here's the point, is like a lot of these people, they start off as something else, and they can do both. There's some people that can effortlessly do that. I was able to do it. I was able to go from modeling to singing because it was part of who I am. Mm-hmm. It's not like I didn't just say, I'm going to be a singer today. I've been singing my whole life. So
it's interesting, though. I think there is this weird, the press.
They're unkind.
There's that element of it. There's also that in order for people to rise up in their ranks, they rely on the press to get the word out, and then the press turns on them so much.
Well, it really depends. The momentum and how you stay with the media and with the public is very important. I don't try to pretend that I'm trying to sell as many records as Pink. I enjoy my cult status. I know who I am. But I can still put on a show and sell out a room in 7 minutes.
Do you perform out much these days?
I do. Yeah, when I can. I can't keep a band on salary because it would just be ridiculously pointless. But I write all the time. I'm a songwriter. This is what I do. So my catalog is enormous at this point. I get up on stage with other people quite often. I have a single coming out with the Dandy Warhols on Black Friday, which is November 26th. And the Dandy Warhols are one of my favorite bands, and I've gone on stage with them a few times, and we decided to record Femme Fatale.
That's great.
So, I'm getting ready to start another album. I just keep putting my stuff out there. I'm not looking for anything but the self-satisfaction that I get, and whatever my handful of fans are, my 40,000 followers on Instagram.
Sure.
You know, I do it for them, and I get a lot out of it. I get a lot out of resonating.
Does it tickle you that you are, in fact, a cult hero of sorts, a cult legend?
At this point, I think that they have to have a name for everything. I think I'm just, I hate this word because it gets used as much as boundaries. I'm a survivor. You know, I didn't fall into the hands of the drugs. I didn't let them get me. I didn't let broken hearts destroy me. And I met somebody that truly loves me and takes care of me 20 years ago. So I'm lucky. I'm just one of those people that I have a strong family. I have a beautiful child. So I can list all the things that I should be grateful for. And of course, I could say, boy, I wish I had as much money as Madonna, or whatever, you know, but I would probably not have any anyway, because I would be so busy saving things. I'd be building elephant sanctuaries and rhino sanctuaries, and I'd be traveling all over the world trying to save everything if I had Madonna's money.
Yeah, right? Have you visited the elephant sanctuary here?
I have not.
Oh, you got to do that. There's a wolf sanctuary here, too.
But I didn't think the elephant sanctuary was open to the public.
For you, I'm sure you could get
I could get a private tour.
I bet you, yeah.
I would just give anything.
I think certain people, they will show around, especially given your Instagram. You can talk about it. It helps bring...
well, anybody that follows me on Instagram knows that I, am a big animal activist.
Yeah, I bet they give you a tour.
And
but
environmental
you can go to the wolf one.
activist.
The wolf sanctuary is incredible. These wolves are so stunning.
Do they let you love them?
Yeah. Well, you can kind of. There's I think one or two that'll let you pet their
I know
noses,
that
but
we have
some of them you're not supposed to.
We have a couple of friends that we know in Austin that do the hybrids, the wolf dog hybrids.
I was writing at this guy Jordan. He lived on the property at Jordan's house, and right as the night came and the moon started to come up, and then all the wolves started singing.
Oh my God, it's incredible. Well, dogs, my dogs, I have a pug and a mutt. My dogs will howl with me. We do this whole little ritual when my husband and I come. We go, ooh, and they cock their heads back. So it is an instinct within dogs.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely, it's a call of the wild, as they say.
I don't know, but my little babies, they howl. They howl their little butts off. They're the cutest things. But it's only when I come home. It's like this little ritual, like, oh, she's home. Yay. Everybody's happy. Ow! Yeah. And we all do it together.
Who are you working on the record with? The whole record, the one that's coming out.
Well, the one that I just put out, my husband produced it.
Oh, okay.
And I play with various musicians around town. I play with Dave Rowe on bass. He played with Johnny Cash for 20 years. I have Sandy Gennaro, my friend from New York, who played with I always say Pat Benatar, he's going to kill me, with Cyndi Lauper and Joan Jett. He played with both of them for a decade. He's my drummer when I play in town, and he lives here now too. And I have Peter Gallinari, another friend from New York, that's on keys. And I've got my little rat pack, and I also I get on stage with people a lot. If the long players ask me to get up and sing, I get up with them, or the rock and roll residency, they're like my family. I sing every time they play. So I am on stage quite a bit. But locally, New York, Nashville,
New York's fun to play.
I would tour in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But it is so expensive.
Yes, it is.
When it's just ridiculous. And so therefore, I'm trying to look at alternative ways to tour. And after my single with the Dandy Warhols comes out, you'll see what that is.
Well, maybe you could do Patreon or something.
I just can't run my mouth right now, but I'm definitely going to Japan. I can tell you that much.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely doing a little tour of Japan, which is going to be awesome and wonderful. because I have a lot of fans in Japan, and I've not yet played Japan, so it's time.
Yeah.
The thing about my fans is they grow with me, and a lot of the younger fans I have, it's this new ilk of kids that love the 70s and love the 80s, and they just want to be scholars on both eras, and little 60s too. They just sort of love the fashion, they love the music, they love the era. I find that ageism and that kind of thing, when you're somebody like me, it doesn't have as much impact as I see a lot of people struggling with that. Oh, I'm too old, I'm 20. And I'm thinking, oh my God, are you kidding me? Have they done that to you? Has this country done that to you? We're the only country that does this.
You don't think Europe is like
No,
that?
not like America. You go to an Italian beach or a French beach, you're going to see an 80-year-old woman in a bikini.
That's true, yeah.
Getting served a drink by her 40-year-old lover. I mean, it's...
Amen.
It's just an entirely different way of thinking.
That's going to be me, I hope.
I just... my husband is going to be 53. He's 13 years younger than me.
I'm going to end up with a younger man, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, I didn't plan it. I've always dated older guys, and until like as I got older, the older guys stopped being interested in me, and younger men were interested in me. Mm-hmm. So I think when I dated Charles, we formed the Gargoyles together. He was 6 years younger than me, and. But 13 years, my husband's 13, but we've been together 20 years, so it works.
I'm curious, you mentioned a minute ago about that you avoided the drug pitfall. How did you manage to, I mean, I know that that people are either have addictive personalities or not. But
That's right. That's how I survived, because I tried everything.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, I tried it all.
So it wasn't that you avoided.
But if I didn't like it, I didn't go back for seconds.
Sure.
It's like when I tried heroin, it made me throw up, and it made me miserable, it made me sick. So why would I find that attractive? My friends that became junkies were people that kept going back for more. I'm thinking, why would you want to take something that you know is making you vomit and making you sick? And why? They needed that numb. I never wanted to be numb. I enjoyed pot. I enjoyed tripping once in a while. But that went away too as I got a little bit older. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do that. It's just, once you get what you get out of taking a drug like LSD or psilocybin or some psychedelic, it's the first one or two experiences are really the most important. People that keep on taking it, they just want to get high. But if you really want to get something out of it, see things and hear things and learn things, it only takes one or two trips. Anything past that is just, cinematic or psychedelia.
Which is still enjoyable. I did a lot of acid in high school, and I loved it. And I did learn a lot. I haven't really gone back to it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I did all that. So I was done with all that by the time I was 30.
Mm-hmm. But I get why people do it.
Oh, me too. I mean, I have friends now that are all constantly trying to give me mushrooms and
microdosing is very popular.
Let's go do mushrooms, and I'm like, no.
It works for some people. I
know.
I always find that first of all, drugs hit me quite hard. Yeah. Anyway, so I had a weekend. Some girlfriends came over and we were swimming in the pool, and one of them brought a joint, and I took one puff of that joint, and I was redonkulously high. I'm like, this is not comfortable anymore. Like, it's fun for about the first.
Well, some of the pot though was very strong.
Oh man, it was nuts.
Some of this hydroponic stuff that they call it the puffy pot. It's like, man, it's too strong. I don't enjoy being that high either. Who does? I just never needed anything on a repeat basis. So I guess I don't have an addictive personality. I'm lucky.
Yeah, I'm same.
And
you have a curious mind, so once you've experienced the experience, you go to the next thing that makes you curious.
But, I have some friends, if they were to do one line of something, the next thing you know, they're ordering hookers, they're ordering a case of bourbon, they are ordering, I mean, what can I tell you? Some people can't handle it.
Yeah. Well, that gene is.
I'm just so
powerful.
fortunate.
Yeah,
I did not get that gene, and I've watched a lot of my friends die. I mean, I've lost a lot of people to drugs. Mm-hmm. So I just can't. Or the damage. I mean, even if they quit the drugs, they did so much damage that their kidneys and their liver and all that kind of stuff start to go on them.
My eldest half brother, Matt, he did so much blow and a lot of heroin in his growing up time, and then one day he had an aneurysm and it ripped out basically his frontal lobe. So he's still alive, but he's not the Matt that he was.
Yeah, bless his heart.
Yeah, but it's hard on the brain.
Oh, it is.
The blood vessels and
it is, and but when you're young, you have to go through it. You have
Absolutely.
to, because I just say, if you have any questions about life, go watch The Lion King. Sums it all up, right
Is he
there.
doing blow in that movie?
Well, the equivalent. He doesn't listen when mom says, "Don't go that way. Don't go there. Don't do that."
I just try and picture you raising up a kid thinking all the things that you have seen and experienced. Because I think about like my friends who are just now having kids, and I'm like, "Oh, are you going to be honest with them about stuff?" And they're like, "No, God, no." And I mean, for you, it's different because there's a trail.
Liv was always around people smoking pot and stuff. She knows the difference. My kid is really smart. She knows the difference, and.
Yeah. But as a parent, I'm saying going, okay, now I've got to, I've got all this world around me, and.
Well, Big Brother starts sometimes, even in grade school, they'll say, if you smell this, or they'll have those officers come to give talks to the class. If you smell this at your house, or if you see this at your house, you come and tell your teacher. That's wrong.
Yeah.
To teach children to turn their parents in.
Yeah, it's pretty
insane.
Hardcore. Yeah.
That is wrong.
Unless the kids are being hurt. That's a whole nother
Exactly.
story.
Well, no. We're not talking about that. We're talking about kids that probably the worst they'll ever see is their dad or mom smoking a joint.
I wish my mom had smoked pot. She would have been a lot more chill, I think.
Believe me. I would. Pot, what they're learning about pot and how good it is for people, it's just...
She smokes it now. I just wish she had smoked it when I was young.
Cannabis.
Or no, she eats it, I guess.
Cannabis it heals.
Absolutely. I'm a big... Like you, if people can do whatever they want with their bodies, it's their body.
Right.
And it's not for me to decide. It's none of my business what you do with your life.
Right.
So that's...
Right. But it'll be legal. I give it 5 years
everywhere,
maximum.
You mean?
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's getting there. I think
it is.
Tennessee, they're chewing on it. They're thinking about it.
Well, they know better. I mean, look at hemp.
Pot farms
hemp could save the world.
Yeah, well, there's people, again, money that don't want...
Hemp could save the world.
Yeah.
It could make people rich, too.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. It takes a leap of faith of getting over the hump, as it were.
Yeah, to put away the fossil fuel and move into solar and move into wind and move into all of that. I mean, what the Trump administration is doing is they're just trying to milk every penny they can because they know it's coming to an end. Kids that just turned 18, they're voting next year. We've just got to get our heads out of our asses. We've got such a beautiful country. We're so lucky. We're so fortunate. We got to stop fracking. We've got to stop raping. We've got to stop, unprotecting protected land. We've got to stop slaughtering 1 billion cows a year. I mean, what is wrong with us? I know she made the money
it's all
symbol.
Money. It's just money.
But what is it going to matter what's the money going to do?
It's not. That's logic. You're using logic for something that doesn't.
I mean, they say get silver and get gold because eventually money will mean nothing and we're going to go back. None of it's going to matter. Some scientists say 12 years. What are you, crazy? We've got 18 months before this thing is reversible.
Well, the world is, she's kicking our ass.
Yeah, we really need to wake up and get things going. We got to get things moving. The election cannot come soon enough. We have to change right away. I don't care who the nominee is. I don't care if it's a rhinoceros. I keep using that word a lot today. I love rhinos.
Yeah,
but
clearly.
Is
that your spirit animal?
But no, actually, no. My spirit animal is a crazy little unicorn.
Really?
No, monkeys.
Monkeys? Oh, look at that, your shirt.
Monkey Man is my favorite Rolling Stones song. And I am just a monkey woman, too. No, I love monkeys. This is vintage. This is very old.
What do you listen to for music, by the way? What is the...
I listened to Little Steven's Underground Garage on Sirius, which plays all stuff, everything from the eras that I love. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Like I just heard a great Hoodoo Gurus song called Cracking Up, I'm Cracking Up, and I just remembered how good the song is. You know, it's just I like a variety, but I also, when I travel, I listen to the Stones, the Allman Brothers. I love classic rock. You know, I like the good stuff.
It is good stuff. I was lucky because my brothers are so much older than I am, and so when their musical taste trickled down into me, which was wonderful. Yeah. My eldest brother wouldn't even talk to me until I'd listened to a few records.
That stuff was important. It was a rite of passage. It was certain records reflected certain changes for certain people.
Yeah.
So
do you have siblings?
No.
No. Okay.
So I'm an only child. I mean, my cousin Annie was kind of raised as my sister.
Okay.
My mother adopted her when she was 16.
Oh, that's cool. What's coming for you? Besides the record, what's coming just in general?
A pretty big coffee table book publisher. I don't have a deal with them yet, so that's why I don't want to say their name. But they have been talking to me about doing a big, beautiful coffee table book of all my personal photos that my Polaroids, pictures that have never been seen before, stuff from my childhood and early 70s, pictures, my Polaroids of Bowie and things like that. So I'm thinking of that. I've been challenging myself for the last few years, trying to compile just the pictures that would be used for something like this. So that has been such a big journey for me, going through all my archives and going through all this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And you dated Bowie, correct?
Well,
sort of.
I mean, we didn't have a sexual relationship, but we were friends and comrades, and we hung out and we did stuff together, like going to Radio City Music Hall, going to the top of the Empire State Building. I took him to the Jersey Shore. He wanted to see where Bruce Springsteen lived because he was such a big Boss fan. He was a big Springsteen fan. And as a matter of fact, the first time I saw Springsteen was upstairs at Max's in 1973, and he was on the piano singing these songs without a band. And there was like nobody there, just like few people. And Bowie took me to that. So Bowie was a secret, Springsteen fan way before Springsteen blew up. Because, in 77 he blew up and became the biggest thing in the world. Wasn't he on Time and Newsweek at the same time or something crazy?
That's great, but...
But I'll tell you, Bowie loved his songwriting and thought it was, so cinematic. And he wanted to see the place that the songs were about. He wanted to see Asbury Park. And back in 73, Asbury Park was not as cleaned up as it is now. But it did have that fabulous amusement park. And it still had the convention hall where you could go see bands. But he was like a child. He wanted to get the fried dough. He wanted, candy apple. He wanted to walk on the boardwalk. He wanted cotton candy. He wanted to smell it. He wanted to smell what Bruce Springsteen smelled. It was hilarious.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And at that point, I didn't even know who Bruce Springsteen was, basically. And it was just ironic, the success he went on to achieve 3 years later. Bowie had that little vision about him, just knew it.
Yeah.
And he kept leaning over to me going, can you believe these lyrics? Aren't they amazing? And I had to agree that, I don't know how he gets so much said, because he would say so much. Mm. And it was very inspiring. But so Bowie, he remained a lifelong friend. And he even came to my daughter's first wedding in 2003 and the party afterwards. And I adore Iman. She's just a lovely, lovely woman. And I think he really found true happiness when he met her. And after his heart attack, though, he had a heart attack around 2004. And that sort of changed everything. But, he continued to smoke.
British.
Jeton. But he continued to smoke his cigarettes. He loved his cigarettes. Oh, my God. But, losing him was awful. I just remember, you see in movies when somebody dies and the person faints or they drop the phone and you think, oh, that's just a movie. It was the first time in my life that when I woke up and my husband had gotten up about an hour before me. It was about 8 a.m, and he stopped me and he said, honey, I just wanted to let you know that David Bowie has died. Well, all those things that I used to be skeptical about happened to me. All the air left my body, and I literally fainted.
Wow.
All the blood left my head. And if it hadn't been for my husband, I probably would have hit the floor pretty hard. But he was right there to grab me. But that was the first time that had ever happened to me where I lost consciousness from the shock of it. That's like somebody like that. Or when Prince died, I've physically had to throw up. You just think these people they're forever. You think they're going to live forever. And especially somebody like Bowie, who had such an impact on all of us. I
felt like that when Robin Williams died. I cried so hard.
Oh, yeah.
That
Robin
destroyed me.
And that would be really more for your generation, too, especially your generation. Absolutely. He was a beautiful person.
Yeah.
And one of the sweetest humans. And then when you look at the way, somebody like Belushi, he didn't have to die. He died from taking way too many drugs. Tom Petty died by accident.
Yeah.
Prince died by accident.
Sure.
Bowie went out in a way that I think all people should respect and admire. I mean, he pretty much said goodbye to his fans in an album and a video that you didn't really understand what he was saying until after he was dead. And he kept getting into that closet, and I realized the closet was a coffin and that wardrobe that he, and I thought to myself, how genius.
He was not from this world.
No, though. I don't think so either. And I think
he is super special. I mean, there are many special artists, but he was one step above that even.
The thing about, I've seen his process. I've been in the studio when he was working. I've witnessed the Stones in the studio a lot too. But the thing about Bowie is that he just translates what he's hearing in his head through his mouth. Like he'll go, ba 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 ba, play that. So he'll say that to to this instrumentalist, I want you to go la da 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 da, like that, instead of writing it down on paper like he had a very, very interesting way of relaying what he was hearing in his head, but he could get people to translate it, which was the genius of Bowie.
Were you around for any of the Stones records?
Oh yeah, I was in the studio for, I was in the studio for some of Black and Blue, Some Girls. Yeah, went to some of those sessions. Absolutely.
It's amazing that you got to see all that stuff. I mean, it's...
Well, and the thing is that you have great bands now. I'm not saying there's not good bands. I mean, look at bands like the Dandy Warhols that were born in the 90s and stuff. There's a lot of great bands. I love Kings of Leon. I like the Black Keys. I like Jack White. I mean, I like a lot of them, and they all live here.
Yeah.
But there's really never going to be that kind of music again, ever. I think
that's what it is. Like thinking oh wow, you get to witness some really just special things that will never be repeated.
Well, it's so funny that a lot of musicians that I know were born either in 1943, 1948, You know, that whole period of time into the early 50s, up to about 52. And if you know anything about UFO sightings, and Roswell was 48, and all those sightings in 47 before that, and then there was tons of sightings in 52, and there was a whole bunch of babies, including me, born in 53. And I've noticed that a lot of these really exceptional musicians that are never going to be duplicated, this strange breed of whatever, it all came during that time. And sometimes I wonder, was there any interference?
It's like the movie Starman. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Loved it. Yeah. I loved Starman. That was Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, and he was excellent. The way he played that.
He's so beautiful.
Yeah,
oh my God. He played it so perfect.
Perfectly.
Did you ever see Enemy Mine?
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my favorites,
Absolutely.
too. Because I wrote a song on my last album called Frenemy Mine, based on the title of that movie. I don't. If you ever listened to any of my records,
I have not yet.
Spotify.
Yeah, I'm on iTunes. It's all.
iTunes. You can hear all my music on iTunes.
I'm on iTunes. Yeah, for sure.
But my last album,
you get more money from me buying it on iTunes than you would from me listening to it on Spotify.
I'm not really sure because BMI, I hope, oversees all that. I get a couple checks a year, and I do pretty good digitally. I mean, I have to say, I think things are going to probably even be better now that Dina LaPault helped get that music moderation,
that bill,
the bill passed and all that. But I don't know.
It's trying times for creatives. The art and commerce have jumped out of a 20-story building, and unfortunately commerce figured out how to fly, and art has smushed itself.
Well, it's going to all get worked out, I believe. There's so many fighters, there's so many warriors out there right now fighting, so I really think it's going to, I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to change.
Well, the National Songwriters Association has people up on the Hill constantly fighting for songwriter rights.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, I used to get like 25-cent checks from BMI sometimes, literally, and I never even cashed them. I saved them. Someday I'm going to have them all framed. Like I'm waiting to I want it to be like the biggest, like a collage as big as that. But the last few I've gotten have been actually checks I could cash, and I was like, wow.
Well, it all starts to pile up.
So there is an improvement.
Yeah.
With how we're being paid.
Yeah, it's a slow process. And my father always says, why don't y'all just stop writing? I said, Dad, you got to understand, they already have millions of songs in the hopper. We could all stop writing today and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, no.
They've got plenty of catalog to.
And I find that a lot of people that boycott are not musicians. And I'm thinking, how can you don't even know what it feels like to be the person this is happening to. What are you achieving from this?
Well, my nephew used to download free music back in the day, and I sat him down and said, look, you've got to understand you have to buy this music. That's like if you went into the grocery store and stole the food from the grocery store. Yeah. You have to support the thing that you love. Yeah. It's important. And from that point on, he started buying music. Well, that's good. Yeah.
And just kids that are join up Spotify or join up iTunes or it's still something for the musicians.
It's great. It's a great tool to hear about new bands and all that stuff. And then just all I'm saying is go out and buy.
It made me so mad though when Spotify didn't want to abide by the rules of the new act. It pissed me off too. Believe me, I was not happy. Yeah. But I do know that's how people listen to music.
I know. But they can also buy it on iTunes. I'm just saying there are other options where you will get a little bit more money.
Yeah, a little bit more turnaround.
Yeah. Are you going to be traveling a bunch or?
Well, traveling. I travel when it's there's a reason. I go to New York when I have to do a job or when I'm playing or when I'm doing an interview or when I'm doing this or that. I go to London to see my daughter. I go to Los Angeles for the same reasons I go to New York. I'll go to Los Angeles in November to sing for Black Friday through Record Store Day with the Danny Warhols, that kind of stuff.
Oh, you have to let me know.
I've traveled all over the world. When you've traveled as much as I have, and toured as much as I have. Right now, I'm a little afraid of traveling. The world is not safe to me right now. I'm not saying I'm reclusive, but I like driving places. Like next month, I'm going to drive 7 hours south so I can jump in the Gulf, and while it's still jumpable. And of course, I'll be back in London soon too to see my daughter who lives there now. Yeah. She doesn't really live in this country anymore, even though Architectural Digest just did a big thing on her beautiful house in New York. But her base is London now. But I go through anxiety now whenever I get on airplanes. Mm. I don't love it as much as I used to.
It's so cramped, and although you probably ride first class, but
sometimes I don't. It depends on if I'm being brought somewhere. They always get us business or first. But I mean, sometimes I just have to travel coach like everybody else. And those planes that fly from Nashville to New York, they're little and there's no class on them, so. You have to sit like that anyway. Yeah. It's only an hour and a half, though. Yeah, I just want to get wherever I'm going the fastest way I can. Or if I can drive there, that's even better.
Yeah. At this point, if I can be leisurely and it's a 10-hour or less drive, I will drive instead of fly.
So if I can bring my dogs, like when we go south next month, we'll bring our dogs, and I like that. Yeah. I don't like leaving my dogs. But I mean, I have a house that I am responsible for, which is a lot of work. I don't like to leave my house more than a week or two at a time. But I am starting to get ready to do some mini touring, as we call it. So, which will be in 2-week at a time intervals. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do Japan next year, definitely. And I want to do Europe as well. But I don't see myself as touring for the rest of my life. I think what I'm going to be doing as I age and getting older is more writing. I'm writing the follow-up to Rebel Heart right now, and I want, before I present it to my former editor at St. Martin's, or before I give it to an agent, if St. Martin's doesn't want it, to shop, I want to have it done. Mm-hmm. I want a finished product. Mm-hmm. And I'm at that point now where writing is a discipline. It's not just something that I love. It's cathartic and it's healing and everything else, but it's a discipline for me too. It's something that I'm going to put 4 hours right now into this. Mm-hmm. No distractions.
How does it feel to be so exposed throughout your life? People tracking who you've slept with, or who you've dated, or who you married, or who your kid is, or
You just get used to it.
Yeah.
It's been, and especially when like when I read that I've slept with somebody that I haven't slept with. I read sometimes that I think they must get Paul Council mixed up with David Cassidy or something. I met David Cassidy once in my life for like 5 minutes at a party. Never dated David Cassidy. Never dated Rob Lowe. And somebody said that in some interview sometime. Never even met. Not only have I not dated Rob Lowe, I've never even met Rob Lowe. So, and I've seen things about myself online where I read this thing where this girl went on and on about what a snobby bitch I was at Princess Anne High School in Virginia Beach, and how she went to school with me and was in all my classes. And I start laughing because I never went to high school in Virginia Beach. She's lying. I went, my 9th and 10th grade year was in Newport, Rhode Island, when my stepfather got stationed up there. My junior and senior year was in North Carolina. Never went to Princess Anne High School. So I read things about myself all the time that are not true, that are just blatant lies, made up and fabricated by people. And the internet is an interesting place. It's the Wild West, and you have to get a thicker skin. I think when we all first started to use computers and the wonder of it all, I was very late. I didn't even learn how to use a computer till around 2003. And then when I did get on the computer, I saw these fake accounts that were all using my name, and we had to hire this firm called Reputation Defender or something, and they had to go in and we had to make sure that all of my social networking had the blue check. And it was a nightmare. I mean, I had people that were going into these chat rooms and pretending to be me when I was probably home house cleaning or writing a song or cooking dinner for somebody. It's been a rude awakening. So basically, there's always going to be stuff out there about anybody, not just me, that isn't true. And the important thing is to just try your best to be a good person and live your life and know that you're in the same boat as everybody else. Everybody gets shit said about them on the internet. Everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you I could find something bad about my dog, and my dog is the sweetest thing on earth. I mean,
right now somebody's typing that.
I know there's
man.
that dog. I met that dog.
That damn dog howling every time she comes home.
So I don't know. I think everybody has to not take it all too seriously.
If you had to do it all again, same thing, would you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question because I don't regret anything, but if I had tools in certain things that I did, would I have maybe maneuvered a different way? Possibly. But I think that we make the mistakes that we make because we're supposed to, that it all leads to something. And I don't know if when I get into my 70s in 5 more years, if I'm going to be one of those people that does inspirational speaking, that writes a lot of books. I kind of see that. I kind of see doing courses in life lesson. Life lessons are important. People just overlook them. They call them mistakes. And no, they're not mistakes. They're the thing that is building you to become a better person. So I have a lot of things that I want to do, a lot of tricks up my sleeve. Mm-hmm. But as far as my day-to-day life, I'm happy. I have a beautiful house that we built. My husband has a fantastic job. I get wonderful opportunities where I can make good money, here and there. I do little projects, little things that I do, and I get paid pretty well as a writer. And it's a wonderful accomplishment when you turn in a piece, especially when they send it back to you for second approval and you see that, wow, they only edited like 2 little things. They didn't change my piece. And then you start seeing that you've become such a skillful editor from editing your own pieces for so long that you could actually even do that for a job. So occasionally somebody will call me and say, will you edit this piece for me? So I'll edit it and I'll get paid.
Yeah.
And I do creative consultant work. I try to think of ways, that somebody like me who doesn't have a degree, I didn't go to college, but how I can make money for myself and be independent and still have my own journeys. Mm-hmm. So when people started calling me and picking my brain and keeping me on the phone for 2 and 3 hours at a time and then going off and making millions of dollars with my ideas, I started thinking to myself, I need to stop doing this for free. So now if somebody wants to hire me as a creative consultant, they have to pay me, period. I don't mind signing a non-disclosure agreement. Some of these people don't like anybody to know that they've been given grooming advice or that they've been given consulting. They want everybody to think it's their idea. Mm-hmm. So I've signed quite a few of those.
Yeah. in
my advice giving ilks or jaunts or whatever you want to call them. But it's I'm not going to ever retire, I don't think.
No, that sounds awful. How can people find you? What are all the different ways?
Well, the most visible way is Instagram, and that's RealBeBeBuell, Real Bebe Buell. And that's probably the one place that I look at the most. I look at it at least 2 or 3 times a day. Facebook and Twitter, I have it hooked up on Instagram so that when I post something on Instagram, it automatically goes to Facebook and Twitter because I limit my time. I check into Twitter maybe once a day, but Facebook, I'm losing interest in Facebook.
Yeah, I think we all are. But we have Black Friday for the single.
Yeah, that's November 26th is Black Friday. And what's happening is Music Store Day or Record Store Day or whatever you want to call it. It's got usually occurs, I think, in April, is it? But they've, I guess if you were to Google this, why has Record Store Day teamed up a little bit with Black Friday? And that's because a lot of people that want to buy records and product for Christmas presents. And that's what Black Friday is, the biggest shopping day before Christmas. And it falls the day after Thanksgiving. So that was when the Dandy Warhols decided through their label to release the single.
That'd be fun. What's it called?
Femme Fatale. It's a cover of the Velvet Underground song.
It's great.
With Nico. Have you ever? Yeah. So it's me singing with the Dandy Warhols as the band.
Dandy Warhols used to play in my hometown a lot. Come through Seattle.
Well, they tour a lot. They're still very on top of their game. It's very impressive. One of the highlights of my life was February 1st singing with them at the O2 in London. We did Femme Fatale, and oh my God, it was amazing. It was amazing. Awesome. So I get a lot of wonderful special moments. My relationship with them has been wonderful. I feel very thankful for it.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading book 2.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're so welcome. I hope we covered it all.
I think we ran the gamut for sure.
Yeah, and you know, let's close it up with in life, you know, don't let sexism and ageism and all the isms stop you from wanting to do things. I mean, sometimes people will say to me, "Gosh, you know, don't you want to just take it easy and slow down?" And what they don't understand is if I took it easy and slowed down, I would lose my sanity. I would lose myself. If I'm not, doing something productive or something to help others or animals, or if I'm not participating in life and in movement, that's when I start to feel. Like whenever I rarely get sick, but whenever I get sick and I have to actually go to bed for a couple of days, it kills me.
Yeah.
I can't relax. Just think, I want to be one of those people. I want to be an ism squasher, like an ism warrior.
I like it. I think you are a living testament to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Bye.
Hey everybody. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, rate and review Hey Human on iTunes. Thanks. Bye.